Hello folks, welcome to the canal channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how to replace the alternator or generator belt on a Volkswagen air-cooled engine. And we're going to show you how this one is performing. We're going to show you the procedures of how we replace it, and then how this new one performs so we can upgrade a belt, because this one is being weather exposed, so we need a new one, and you don't want that one to snap on you in the middle of the trip. And when that's it, let's jump right into it. So the first reason we're replacing this belt is that it has two big cracks. This is about to go. So if this belt snaps on us, this little engine can overheat as well, just like regular car engines, because these are air cooled and there's a fan being spun by this pulley all the way inside there that keeps circulating air into the engine. And if that's not happening when you're in idle, you can actually overheat this engine. It can ruin it. So we're gonna replace it for that reason right here, and it might snap. We're gonna turn on the engine and show you how it's bouncing around and it's about to go. So now to take this belt off, we're gonna have to take this nut off, and there's a 21 millimeter on our case. There's this big washer, and then there's gonna be little spacers here, little thin washers here, and then there's gonna be the pulley, half of the pulley, and then the belt. Now that we have done that, we take half of the pulley off, and then the belt is gonna come out. One thing when you're putting on this pulley is that it has these two metal tabs, and they fit right in here, but they don't fit in either side. They have to, the wider one goes into the wider groove, and the narrow one goes into the narrow groove. So if you try to put them backwards, one side is not gonna go in, and if you try to tighten it, thinking that that's just offset or it just needs to be tightened, you're gonna bend or damage the pulleys, and you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that you guide the wider groove with a wider tab, even if there's pressure from the belt, and then you can start tightening it once you have put everything together. That's one thing that you don't want to do, bend or damage this pulleys. And then here there's these little washers like the ones we took out. So what these washers are for is they're spacers, so that creates the space between the two pulleys, half and a half. So the more washers or shims there's in there, the wider the space is going to be, and the belt is going to ride more in there. So if you take out, the pulleys are going to get narrower, and the belt is going to have to ride more outside. So it depends how big the belt is. If it's a little bit smaller than the one you got, you're going to have to put some of these. If you have a bigger one, you're going to have to take out. So then the pulleys, this is the adjustment for the belt. So we're going to be playing with that once we start putting our belt on. So just want to give you some tips on that. So now we can start putting the new belt. So here's our belt that we just took out, and as you can see, this is just a miracle that it was in there. So it's all dried out, cracked in different spots. So this was a miracle for this belt just to be in there. So now we can put the new one, because if this had snapped, our engine can actually overheat. So put the new one now. This is what we bought at the Volkswagen store, and this is made by Continental. Is the part number is ABX10 905, and it cost us almost $7. So this is what they sold us and recommended for us on our Volkswagen. So now we put our belt in the bottom, we come up here, we put it, set it, and then we start adding our half of the pulley, guiding the tabs so they start falling in. Now that we have a little bit of the belt guided and the pulley is guided in there, we put the washers with the big washer. We make sure that everything's falling in place. So to prevent this nut from coming off in the future, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some Loctite and it's going to be the 242. This is a Thre Locker, and we're just going to add some of that to prevent from that nut from coming off in the future. We put that big nut on it. We tighten it by hand. We kind of make it spin a little bit. So now you're tightening the knot and you want to give it a good snug, and then it keeps spinning. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to find one of these grooves and we're going to put a screwdriver in there just barely to touch one of the bolts that keeps the housing together, and we're going to stop this from spinning by locking it with that bolt. We're going to show you a close look of what we mean, so that way you can tighten this, because if you try to grab the belt or stop it, you can't with your hands. Your hand is going to get underneath the belt and it's going to get crushed on the pulley, or you can't even hold this from spinning. So we're going to show you what we mean. So you see the groove. We put the screwdriver right into the groove, and then the bolt that it makes the housing is going to lock the whole pulley from spinning, and then now we can tighten that bolt, that nut. Now that we have that screwdriver in there locking everything, we can tighten that nut. So now that we have that new belt in there, everything's back in its place. We have put in the nut. We adjusted the space between the two pulleys with the shims. So now we turn on the engine and see how this one reacts to compared to what we had before. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful on how to replace the alternator or generator belt. And this is very important because this belt keeps the alternator or generator turning, charging your system. But actually, it does a second job. It makes a fan in the inside spin where the other end of the pulley is on the generator alternator spin, and that circulates air throughout the little engine, so that cools on the engine. If this snaps, that engine is going to start getting hotter and hotter, and it actually can cause it to seize, and it's going to go bad. So it's like a regular car. It needs cooling as well, but it's a different cooling. It's just by air around. It's like a motorcycle. So very important. So the other thing is about when you're taking everything apart, make sure that you pay attention how everything's coming off, so that way you get an idea how everything has to go in. And then the shims, if it's a bigger or smaller belt, you're going to have to add or take shims from between the two pulleys, or the two plates that make the pulley. So that's another thing. And we had added some Loctite just in case, so that nut don't come loose in the future and we end up with a bunch of parts lost, and then a belt that is not there. So we are trying to prevent that as well. So pretty simple job. Just take your time and you can do this and save a lot of money, so you don't have to take it to shops. And with that said, folks, for friends who are watching our video haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like a video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in el canal, El Chano Jose.